I've been in Sussex County more time than I haven't been. So I moved here from Puerto Rico when I was like seven-ish. So it's kind of a blur, where it wasn't like I have pieces of memories, but not really like concrete timeline. I know that I went to first grade in Puerto Rico, but I was here for kindergarten. So I have like this like back and forth where my father, he was in the National Guard. So we spent some time there, we spent some time here. And it wasn't until after my parents were divorced that we stayed here.
I was originally born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, which I love. I'm really proud to be from that city. And I moved to the Eastern Shore to Berlin, Maryland when I was 14. So my freshman year of high school, I moved to the Eastern Shore, and it was a really big change. I did not like it at first. It was just so different than Baltimore, and I just wasn't used to it. I was young. I thought that I wanted to just be in a city and the hustle and the bustle and all that.
Jose was looking at us.
I spent time in Lincoln. I spent time in Georgetown, ultimately landing in Greenwood. My mom still lives in Greenwood. And that's where I spent most of my formative years. I've always been creative since I can remember. I've always wanted to express myself in creative ways. That I don't know where that came from. I really don't have anyone in my family who's super musical or super artistic. So I don't know. I feel like in certain ways I was kind of like, I wouldn't say the black sheep, but a pretty unique member of my family.
When I was in my late teens is when I started taking a lot of writing classes in high school. I took all of the creative writing classes that I could have taken. I took all the art classes. I went all the way up to AP art in high school. So I always loved writing. I always loved art.
I started playing guitar and getting into music when I was a teen. I was in tons of little garage bands, and I was always out either skateboarding or jamming with my buds, and we had bands and we did little regional stuff, and it was always like very much do it yourself. Like that was a very big aspect of everything that I did. That was the ethos, we're gonna write the music, we're gonna record the music, we're gonna create the tangible CD at the time. And we're gonna find someone local who's gonna print our shirts dirt cheap. We're gonna have buttons, like it was always, that was the ethos, was do it yourself. That's what we wanted. That's the aspect of music that really intrigued me.
When I was at home on my own time, I loved writing so much that I made a handful of blogs. I would make a blog and I would be so invested in it for months, and then I just would lose track of time or forget about it, and I'd delete it, and then I'd make another one. And so it was always this thing that I found myself going back to, but just something wasn't clicking, it wasn't working out, the timing didn't seem right. And then I met my husband in my early 20s, and he was so different than anyone I'd ever met. His thought processes are on a completely different playing field, and I noticed it right away the moment I met him. And we got pregnant fairly quickly into our relationship, but it wasn't scary. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't worried. I just felt like it was going to be fine.
Fast forward to me having 2 kids, and when my daughter was little, I was in a couple bands here and there, and we recorded a little bit. I still did that some, but as she got older and as she got into her more human stages of life, where she started walking and talking and really becoming a person, I kind of had to really step back and look at the big picture, like, could I be away from home a couple nights a week and playing shows every weekend? And I probably could have made it work, but I've always known that writing, not just music, but writing in general, was something that really interested me. And I loved reading to her. And I had so many ideas. So getting to the point where I knew I wanted to write a book for her, it kind of just came naturally.
Him living in Sussex County is how I ended up here. And we ended up buying a 1-bedroom duplex in a little town called Blades when I was around 6 months, 7 months pregnant. And we lived there for over 2 years. My daughter was almost 3. And when I was living in this 1-bedroom duplex with my daughter, I was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't really have any hobbies, not many friends, and that is how I started introducing myself again to social media. I noticed quickly that my daughter was just very, she's just vibrant, and so it was easy to capture her in these moments where she just gave off so much life, and she was just inspiring. And she's the reason why I have been pursuing this. And social media for me has become an outlet as a stay-at-home mom, because it's hard. You lose your identity, you lose yourself, you're second guessing everything as a mom, as a person. If you should be doing this, are you wasting your years? And for me, social media has comforted me. I've not only been using it as a way to be creative, as a way to feel fulfilled, but I've met so many incredible people doing it.
As I started to dial back with playing music and recording music and all that part of my life, I didn't feel like that part of me was dying or going away. I felt like it just had to shift into something that I knew would resonate with her and with my son now. So my friend Keith, he wrote a kid's book. It's called The Sloppy Copy, and he gave us a copy. And we helped him along the way, where he and his wife, there were times where they were really busy, and we kind of played a part in helping them have the time to bring it to fruition. So, and throughout this whole time, I, had my own ideas and was doing my own writing and really getting that stuff kind of condensed and to a point where I felt like I could approach him. And it was Halloween of last year when we really sat down and had a conversation about bringing my book out and making it a reality. The music scene around here was always hyper-focused in Sussex County, where there was a couple little venues where it always happened. One of them was right here in Seaford. We called it the Backstage. It was a monthly thing. We would always have shows there. And there were a couple other little venues, the Milford Elks Lodge. So all my peers and everybody that was involved with the scene and who supported one another was all centralized here in Sussex County. All this time later, we're all becoming parents, we're all becoming moms and dads, and we're still connected, where we're still cheering each other on, whether it's from social media or living in close proximity and hanging out. We're all still, a lot of us are still here, and we're just in a different phase of life.
Living in Sussex County, I think is unique to these bigger brands and companies that I work for, because we're not like a big mainstream city. We're a small state, and we're a smaller town, and we have, like, Sussex County is so beautiful. We have access to all of these beautiful cities and these beautiful landmarks and places where I'm able to capture these pictures.
My roots are here, and a lot of the people who understand where I'm coming from are still my peers, and they're parents now. So it's just awesome to have that centralized community still here or close by, because even if they had, a goal to move away, some of them are still close by. We got Philly close by, we have DC, Baltimore, New York City, they're all close by. So it's really a perfect place to do something like this, because you have all these really close cities that, have a huge audience.
I mean, we go to the Cape Henlopen State Park, and I've taken beautiful pictures there of either the kids, or for companies and brands, I'm able to use Sussex County as this background for all of these, for pictures of mine, and that stands out in itself. Downtown Seaford is so beautiful, and so it's just like quaint, and it's so picturesque that it looks good for companies and brands when you live in like this beautiful town that you're able to use as a foreground.
I've never lived less than an hour away from the ocean in my life, ever. And I don't know that I ever want to. And in Sussex, that's a reality. Where I'm from in Puerto Rico, it was a reality. And it was very similar. It's like a parallel, where I grew up in a town, in a barrio called Peñuelas, and going to Ponce, which is the big city close by, was like going to Dover, or going to San Juan was like going to Philly or going to Baltimore. It's just like, it's like a parallel, just in a different part of the world. And there's just something about being surrounded by water, like if you really like zoom out and think about where we are and think about Puerto Rico, and it's like, it's very similar, and it just feels right. It's never felt like a bad place to me.